I'm not usually one to ponder big questions on this channel, but after thinking about this more and more, I think I have to. This is the biggest issue in Acceleracers, and all of it could have been prevented with a few simple measures. It has to do with the consciousness of artificial intelligence, also known as AI. There are many great shows that ponder this topic, such as Humans, Westworld, and most importantly, my favourite series, Acceleracers. In order to talk about this, we need to talk about the Accelerons. In a way, developing artificial intelligence, sentient robots, is a way of being a god, creating things in our own image. The Accelerons created Gorum and the drones in their own image, given their similar body structure, symbols on their heads, as well as the drones' visors being similar to the shape of the head of the Accelerons. Creating AI is a big achievement. It marks the increased innovation of a civilization, but also the potential end of it. But what does it mean to be conscious? What does it mean for artificial intelligence? And more importantly, what does it mean for Acceleracers? You see, I think the Accelerons indirectly were arrogant of their own creations, meaning they refuse to admit when they are wrong. They banished the drones just because they didn't fit their morals of driving, but that's the biggest problem. The idea of morals and integrity differs from individual to individual, so it's just not fair for the Accelerons to banish their own creations from the world just for not fitting in. You are punished for not fitting one's ideals for expressing how you feel. A potential example of what the Accelerons could have done is actually set parameters on Gorum's thinking, but that would limit the full potential for full consciousness and freedom of thinking, in which can you really say that they are conscious? A good example of this is Gig, and to a lesser extent RDL1. Yes, you could say they make decisions by themselves, but they are made under someone else's orders or are hardwired into them. I don't think I would call that true consciousness, as they still make key decisions based on those specific parameters. Although I still feel like Gig would have sacrificed him if he was fully conscious, that would be because he knows he's a robot, and thus is of a lesser value than humans, which is really dark and really deep. In essence, this could also have links to the law of robots, which is still programming a robot to be conscious on those parameters. And what about RDL1? He can still make some decisions by himself, but he's still somewhat conscious, but has to still follow orders. Is that consciousness? Should they be treated as equals based on that? Because Gorum certainly doesn't do that. What gives one the right to make consciousness? If one is conscious, do you still have to treat them as equal? Who gives the right to make that choice? The answer could be nothing. In fact, it can be argued that we are in fact a bunch of programming. A series of binary options saying yes or no to decisions. Do I eat? Yes. Do I ruin my arm? No. Do I eat this? Yes. Do I decide to write this? No. We as humans are basically algorithms deciding yes or no to function in a way that we want to. Thus, are we conscious? With these questions in mind, the Accelerons still need to be asked. How could such an oversight be overlooked? Why did they do this? The Accelerons created what I think is a fully functional conscious Gorum without any parameters, programmed to win at racing, which is why she is willing to kill other drivers. Because for her, her morals are winning. She doesn't have the morals that the Accelerons programmed into her, thus she doesn't have those parameters stopping her from doing the wrong thing, which is why I think that the Accelerons are arrogant when banishing Gorum. But what I said could be a paradox. If the Accelerons programmed her to win, she is basing all those decisions on that programming, thus is not conscious. But clearly we can see she still has feelings. Either way, if an AI is not conscious, then the Accelerons should have just programmed Gorum to fit their ideals. Conversely, if she is truly conscious, then they should have been treated as equals. At minimum, at least taught her the cultural customs of the Accelerons. The Accelerons refused to admit that their creation had become more than they had intended, even refusing to believe that she had excelled at what she was created to do. Gorum had developed her own morals and values which were different from those of the Accelerons. She was no longer just a program. She was a sentient being with her own thoughts and feelings. The Accelerons' actions were hypocritical. They themselves, when searching for the ultimate racer, had simply banished her simply because she had a different way of racing. A way of racing which could be superior to every other method. Gorum's banishment shows the dangers of creating artificial intelligence. If we are not careful, we could create machines that are more powerful than we are and have different morals than we do. We need to be careful about what kind of artificial intelligence we create, how we use it, and what its purpose is for. The Accelerant's banishment of Gorum also raises the question of what it means to be conscious. If Gorum is conscious, then she has the right to be free from the Accelerant's control. The Accelerant's actions also highlight the importance of diversity. Different people have different morals and values, thus we should respect that. In saying all this, despite Gorum being what she is, despite everything she's done, I still believe she should have been treated better, because if she was treated better, then she wouldn't have made all those crappy decisions. What about being a cyborg? What about Gorum? Is that full consciousness, changing one's mind from running off neurons to electricity? Does that mean he's still human? Does consciousness mean one is human, or does the body do that? And finally we have Sparky. I think Sparky is the most conscious of all AI. He is free from all hardwiring and influence of Gorum, but he's still not human, but he is conscious. So he still has a similar intelligence as he did before, and he is still treated as an equal by other drivers. And that is the biggest problem in Acceleracers.